the world that we live in today is very different than what our parents or our grandparents did when they bought a house. The question I always get is, why would a mortgage company make a loan to a borrower that they can't afford? Don't they want to make loans that you're going to be able to pay back? And I think they're thinking about what happened when we had George Bailey on the corner. And you know, Mr. Bailey was making his money based on your ability to repay. Right? So he was giving you a loan, he was charging you interest, and every month you pay your coupon and you make your payment, and the bank would make their money because they were charging you interest. And that was the business model that most people understood. Well, that business model hasn't existed in the mortgage banking industry for the past 2 decades. What happens now is that the whole mortgage lending process became divvied up and the incentive system became all wrong. Okay, in English. When you go get your loan, you may be getting it from a broker, or you may be getting it from a bank. Let's assume you get it from a broker. The broker's incentive is to give you a loan at the highest principal that charges you the most fees. The higher the principal, the more fees they're going to get. The higher interest rate they charge you, the more money they're going to get. So their incentives are sort of ass backwards. They're getting money by giving you a loan, whether or not you can afford it or not. The more they can build in, the more interest they can charge, the more money they're going to make, right? The broker. And they have no interest in whether it gets paid or not, because as soon as they make that loan or close the deal, it gets sold off to a bank. The investment bank gets your loan, it gets 100,000 loans like it, put them in a package, chop and slice it up, turn around and try to sell it to investors after it gets run through the sausage-making process of making bonds. And again, those people, because your loan has become so enmeshed with other people's loans, they don't have a real interest in your specific loan succeeding or 100 loans succeeding. They figure it all gets caught up in the wash, we're going to throw them all in the mix, and we're going to make money by taking these mortgages and chopping them up and selling it to investors. What ultimately happened was that the industry cared so little about loans succeeding. They were creating widgets. Mortgages and homeowners were simply widgets. They were products that they needed to create because you had all of these investors on Wall Street saying, give me more. I always think of the Wall Street investors as sort of the plan from Little Shop of Horrors. And they're, feed me, Seymour, feed me. And so they just made mortgages because they had to sell them. And nobody cared about what the product that was being made was, because they were going to make money by creating, not by whether it was going to succeed or not. Well, so many of those mortgages were made, and so many of them failed, that we have the economic crisis that we're sitting in today. What we saw in Chicago and Philadelphia and Atlanta, what legal services attorneys saw in those communities in the mid-90s and early 2000s, all these bad loans being made, then expanded to the middle class of our country, to the point where there were so many bad loans that were being created that the whole thing collapsed.